Forsaken by the Stars, Part 1, The Distress Signal. The small room was quiet except for the steady beep of machines. Dr. Elaine Frost rubbed her tired eyes and stared at the screen in front of her. For 3 days straight, she had been trying to understand the strange signal that Arcturus Station had picked up from deep space. "Still at it?" asked Sam Miller, bringing her a cup of coffee. "I have to be," she said, taking the cup. "This isn't random noise. There's a pattern." Arcturus Station floated in the emptiness of space far from Earth. Its job was simple: listen to the stars and report anything unusual. Last week, something very unusual had happened. The sensors had detected a signal unlike anything they had seen before. Elaine was the best person to figure it out. She had studied alien languages for 15 years, even though no one had ever found aliens. People used to joke about her job. Now those jokes had stopped. She took a sip of coffee and looked again at the patterns on her screen. The signal used math, prime numbers arranged in sequences that couldn't be natural. Someone made this message on purpose. "I need more computing power," she told Sam. "Can you get me access to the main system?" Sam nodded. "Give me 10 minutes. While she waited, Elaine stared out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, someone or something was calling for help. She could feel it. With the main computer's help, Elaine made quick progress. The message wasn't just math, it had pictures too. Simple drawings that showed a star exploding and people, or something like people, escaping on large ships. Then the pictures showed the ships breaking down. "They need help," she whispered to herself. "They're dying out there." Elaine worked through the night. By morning, she had enough to take to the station commander. Commander Roy Bell listened carefully as she explained. "You're telling me we've received a distress call from aliens?" "Yes," said Elaine. "From a race calling themselves the Valen. Their home star is dying or already dead. They escaped on large ships, but the ships are failing. Without help, they'll all die." Commander Bell frowned. "How far away are they?" "Based on signal strength, less than 6 months travel with our fastest ships," Elaine said. The commander pressed a button on his desk. "Get me Earth Command. Priority 1. 3 days later, the ship Horizons prepared to leave Earth orbit. Its mission? Find the Valen and help them if possible. Captain Alan Morris stood on the bridge watching his crew prepare for launch. "Captain, all systems are ready," said his second-in-command, Olivia Martinez. "And the crew?" asked Morris. "Everyone's on board. Dr. Frost arrived an hour ago." Morris nodded. Earth Command had insisted that Elaine Frost join the mission. No one knew more about the Valen message than she did. The rest of his crew was the best Earth had to offer. Greg Phillips could fix anything mechanical. Kate Simmons knew more about alien biology than anyone, even without having seen an actual alien. And Jack Weber would keep them all safe if things went wrong. "This won't be easy," Morris told his officers. "We don't know what we'll find out there. The Valen might not even look like us. They might think differently. But they need help, and we're going to give it to them." "What if it's a trap?" asked Weber, always cautious. "Then we'll deal with that too," said Morris. "But I don't think it is. No one sends a message for 100 years just to set a trap." The ship hummed as the engines powered up. Morris sat in his captain's chair and gave the order. "Take us out. Ms. Martinez, let's go make history." As the Horizons left Earth behind, Elaine Frost stood at a window, watching her home planet grow smaller. She held a small device that continuously played the Valen message. By now she knew every part of it by heart. "We're coming," she whispered to the stars. "Hold on." The Horizons came out of its final jump, and the bridge fell silent. On the main screen, 3 massive shapes floated against the blackness of space. Each one was bigger than any ship humans had ever built, almost the size of a small moon. "Are those their ships?" whispered Olivia Martinez. Captain Morris nodded. "Life signs? Millions," said Kate Simmons, looking at her scanner. "But many are weak. Their life support systems are failing." Morris turned to Elaine Frost. "Time to see if they understand us. Send the greeting message we prepared." Elaine's fingers moved. quickly over her console. The message was simple. Images showing humans, their ship, and their desire to help. They waited. 5 minutes later, the largest alien ship sent back a response. The screen filled with strange symbols, and then an image appeared. It showed a tall, slender being with blue skin and 4 arms. Its large eyes blinked at them. It worked, Elaine said softly. They understand. More images followed. The aliens, the Valen, showed their dying star, their escape, and the long journey that had nearly killed them. Their ships were meant to last 1 generation, not 3. Systems were breaking down faster than they could fix them. Tell them we're here to help, Morris ordered. The next day, a small team from the Horizons docked with the main Valen ship. Morris led the group, which included Elaine, Greg, Kate, and Jack. They all wore special suits in case the Valen air was poisonous to humans. The airlock opened to reveal 3 Valen waiting for them. They were taller than humans, with skin that ranged from pale blue to deep indigo. Their 4 arms moved gracefully as they greeted the humans with slight bows. The middle one stepped forward. Through the translation device Elaine had built, it spoke, "I am called Guide. We thank you for coming. Few of us believed help would ever arrive." Morris removed his helmet when tests showed the air was safe. "I'm Captain Alan Morris. We came as soon as we got your message." Guide led them through long hallways filled with Valen of all ages. Many looked sick or thin. The ship itself seemed to be falling apart. Lights flickered, and pipes leaked in corners. "Our ancestors were artists and thinkers," Guide explained, "not explorers. When our star began to die, we had little time to build these ships. They were never meant for such a long journey." Greg Phillips examined a broken wall panel. "Your power systems are almost gone. How have you survived this long?" "We sleep in turns," said Guide. "Only 1/3 of our people are awake at any time. Even so, food is scarce." In a large meeting room, other Valen leaders waited. They touched hands with the humans, and Elaine noticed something strange. Each time they made contact, she felt a wave of emotion, gratitude, hope, fear. They're empaths, Kate realized, checking her instruments. They sense and share emotions through touch. "Yes," said Guide. "It is how we truly communicate. Words are incomplete." An older Valen with dark blue skin stepped forward. "I am called Sentinel," he said through the translator. "Not all welcome your help. Our laws say we must stand alone. Accepting outside help brings shame." "Shame is better than extinction," Guide argued. Morris watched the 2 aliens carefully. There was clearly division among the Valen about accepting human help. "We respect your traditions," Morris said, "but we didn't come all this way to watch you die. Let us at least fix your critical systems while you decide." Lisa Chen, the communications officer, spoke with younger Valen while Greg examined their engines. The young ones seemed eager to learn about humans. They showed Lisa their art, beautiful crystals that somehow captured emotions when touched. As the human team prepared to return to their ship, Guide pulled Morris aside. "There is more you should know," Guide said quietly. "About why our star died. It was not natural, but others do not wish this truth told." Morris looked into Guide's large eyes. "I'm listening." For 2 weeks, the human crew worked hard to help the Valen. Greg Phillips led a team that fixed the worst problems with their power systems. Kate Simmons helped program their food machines to make more meals. The Valen ships began to feel less like dying vessels and more like homes again. But on the 15th day, everything changed. "Captain, we have a problem," Greg said, rushing onto the bridge of the Horizons. "The power system we fixed yesterday just failed again, and it wasn't an accident." Captain Morris frowned. "What do you mean?" "Someone cut the main power lines. Someone who knew exactly where to cut." Similar reports came in all day. Food from the machines that Kate had fixed made several Valen sick. Air systems stopped working in sections that had just been repaired. Jack Weber, who was in charge of security, found a small device attached to the air system. "It's a sabotage tool," he explained to Morris. "Very clever, very hidden. Morris called an emergency meeting with Guide. "Someone is undoing our work," he said. "Someone doesn't want us to help you." Guide's blue skin darkened with what humans had learned was shame. "It is the purists," Guide admitted. "Led by Sentinel, they believe accepting help from another species goes against our oldest laws." "They would rather everyone die than break a rule?" Morris asked. "Some laws are seen as more important than life itself," Guide said. "The purists believe our extinction would be more honorable than survival through outside help." Meanwhile, Elaine. Frost had been studying the Valen historical records. What she found disturbed her deeply. "Captain," she said when they were alone, "the Valen aren't telling us everything. Their star didn't just die naturally. According to their own records, they caused it." Morris stared at her. "How?" 300 years ago, they built a device to pull energy directly from their star. They didn't understand the consequences. The star became unstable and the instability grew worse over centuries. Does Guide know this? I think so, but many younger Valen don't. The truth was hidden from later generations. That night, Jack Weber saw movement near the crucial oxygen generators. He followed silently and found Sentinel with 2 other purists placing devices on the machines. "Stop right there," Jack said, drawing his weapon. Sentinel turned slowly. "Your help condemns us," he said. "Our ancestors' mistakes must end with us." "By killing everyone? That's not justice. That's murder." The other purists moved toward Jack. He tried to call for backup, but something was blocking his radio. He would have to handle this alone. On the horizons, Morris confronted Guide with what Elaine had discovered. "Is it true?" he demanded. "Did your people cause your star to die?" Guide's 4 hands moved in a gesture of admission. "Yes. Our ancestors built the solar harvester without understanding its effects. By the time my generation realized what was happening, it was too late. The star's death was inevitable. Why hide this from your people? From us?" "Shame," Guide said simply. "And fear that if you knew, you might leave us to our fate." A young Valen burst into the room. "Sentinel and the purists have taken control of the oxygen systems. They say they will shut them down unless all humans leave immediately." Morris gathered his officers. "If we leave, they'll all die," he said. "If we stay, the purists might kill us too," Olivia pointed out. Kate Simmons, who had grown close to many young Valen, shook her head. "We can't abandon them." "We won't," Morris decided. "But we need a new plan. The Valen are divided, and the purists are willing to kill their own people to keep their secret." Greg looked thoughtful. "What if we bypass their main systems completely? Build something new that the purists can't sabotage?" "That would take months," Jack said. "Not if we use both human and Valen technology together," Greg argued. "Something new that neither of us could build alone." Morris nodded slowly. "It's worth trying. But first we need to deal with the immediate threat to the oxygen systems." "I'll go," Jack volunteered. "I know where they are." As Jack left to confront the purists again, Morris looked out at the massive Valen ships floating in space. What had started as a simple rescue mission had become much more complicated. Now they weren't just fighting against failing technology. They were fighting against those who saw death as better than change. Jack Weber returned to the horizons with a bloody arm and a grim face. "I stopped them from destroying the oxygen systems," he reported, "but this is getting worse. The purists are growing in number." Captain Morris nodded. "It's time for everyone to know the truth." He turned to Guide, who had been silent during Jack's report. "You need to tell your people what really happened to your star." Guide's 4 hands trembled. "Many will not accept it. They believe our star died naturally." "Lies don't save people," Morris said firmly. "Truth might." The next day, Guide called all Valen who could fit into the largest meeting hall on their main ship. Thousands gathered, while millions more watched on screens throughout the 3 ships. The human crew stood behind Guide as he stepped forward to speak. "My people," Guide began, voice shaking. "For too long, we have hidden the truth. Our star did not die on its own. Our ancestors caused its death. A wave of shock moved through the crowd. Many Valen turned to each other in confusion. Others shouted in disbelief. 300 years ago, Guide continued, our scientists built a device to harvest energy directly from our star. They did not understand the danger. The device damaged the star's core, causing a slow death that would take centuries. Sentinel pushed his way to the front. This is why we must refuse help, he shouted. Our ancestors' pride destroyed our world. We deserve our fate. No, said a younger Valen, stepping forward. She was a scientist named Mira, who had been working closely with Kate. Our ancestors made a mistake. We have learned from it. That is enough punishment. The crowd divided. Some stood with Sentinel, others with Mira. Their voices grew louder. Morris watched with concern. On the horizons, division had also appeared among his crew. That evening, Jack Weber came to his quarters. Captain, Jack said, I've been thinking about what we learned. The Valen destroyed their own star. Who's to say they wouldn't do the same to other stars, to ours eventually? Morris considered this. You think we should leave them? I think we should be careful. They hid this truth from us. What else are they hiding? Later, Morris found Kate Simmons in the lab studying Valen biology. What do you think about all this? He asked her. Kate looked up from her work. Humans have made terrible mistakes too, Captain. We nearly destroyed our own planet more than once. Should we have been left to die? That's different, Morris argued. It? Kate asked. The Valen who built that device are long dead. These people just want to live. Morris walked the halls of his ship that night, thinking hard. By morning, he had made his decision. He called his officers together. We came here to save lives, he told them. That hasn't changed. Yes, the Valen made a terrible mistake. Yes, they hid it from us. But they're still people facing extinction, and we still have the power to help. What about the purists? Olivia asked. They'll fight us every step of the way. Then we'll need to work faster, Morris said. Greg, how's your plan coming? Greg Phillips brought up a diagram on the screen. I've been working with some young Valen engineers. They're brilliant. Together we've designed a hybrid system that could work, but we'll need resources from Earth. Earth is 6 months away, Jack pointed out. Not necessarily, Greg said. The Valen have technology that could help us send a message much faster than we thought possible. With their help, we could get word to Earth in weeks, not months. Morris studied the plans. Will it be enough time? How long will their ships last? Not long, Greg admitted. Even with our repairs, the largest ship has maybe 3 months before critical systems fail completely. Then we need to start evacuating now, Morris said. The most vulnerable first, children, the sick, the elderly. Evacuate to where? Jack asked. Morris looked out the window at the stars. I've been thinking about that. Earth recently finished terraforming Venus. The southern continent is habitable but mostly empty. It's not perfect, but it could work. Venus? Olivia repeated. Captain, that would change everything for humanity. Bringing millions of aliens to our solar system? Yes, Morris agreed. It would. But sometimes change is necessary for survival. He turned to his officers. The question is, are we ready for that change? Earth took the news better than Morris had expected. The message sent using Valen technology reached Earth in just 2 weeks. 3 days later, Earth's leaders sent their answer. Yes, the Valen could come to Venus. They've given us permission to bring the Valen to the southern continent, Morris told his officers. But we need to figure out how to get millions of people across space safely. Greg Phillips spread out his plans on the table. The Valen ships are too damaged to make the journey. We'll need to build new ones. How long would that take? Asked Olivia. Too long, Greg admitted. But I have another idea. We can take parts from the human ship and combine them with Valen technology to create transport vessels. Kate looked concerned. That would mean sacrificing the horizons. Not all of it, Greg said. But yes, we would need to take it apart to save these people. Morris studied the plans. Can it work? With Valen help? Yes, Greg said. Their technology is different from ours, but advanced in its own way. Together, we can build hybrid ships that can carry everyone. The plan took shape over the next week. The Valen children and their teachers would go first, along with the elderly and sick. Then the rest would follow in later groups. Venus was being prepared for their arrival, with special domes that matched the Valen's preferred air and temperature. Not everyone liked the plan. Many humans on Earth protested sharing a planet with aliens. Some Valen, especially the purists, refused to go. Why should we travel to your world? Sentinel demanded during a meeting. To become beggars? Dependents? Servants? To live, Morris said simply. Lisa Chen had been spending time with the Valen youth learning their language and customs. She approached Morris with an idea. The young Valen have been creating something to show their elders, she said. I think you should see. Lisa led Morris to a large room where dozens of young Valen were gathered. They had created a beautiful crystal structure that pulsed with light. It's an emotion crystal, Lisa explained, but bigger than any they've made before. Touch it. Morris placed his hand on the crystal. Instantly, he felt a wave of emotions: hope, gratitude, fear, and something deeper, a sense of connection between humans and Valen that went beyond words. This is how they see our help, Lisa said. Not as charity or weakness, but as two species reaching out to each other across the stars. The next day, a loud explosion shook the largest Valen ship. Morris and his team rushed to find smoke filling a huge engine room. 3 human engineers were badly hurt, and hundreds of Valen were trapped in nearby sections. Sabotage, Jack said grimly, examining the damage. The purists have escalated. Morris organized rescue teams. For hours, they worked to save those trapped by the explosion. By the time they finished, everyone was safe, but the ship was badly damaged. This changes our timeline, Greg said, looking at the destroyed engine room. This ship won't last 3 months now, maybe 1 month at best. Morris called an emergency meeting with Guide and the Valen leaders. We need to speed up our plan. The first transport vessels must be ready in 2 weeks, not 4. Can it be done? Guide asked. Greg nodded. If everyone works together, yes, but we'll need all hands, human and Valen. Sentinel stood in the back of the room, watching silently. Several purists had been caught near the explosion site and were now in custody. But Sentinel himself had been elsewhere. We should delay the children's departure, Sentinel suggested, his voice surprisingly calm. Adults should go first to prepare the new world. Morris felt suspicious. Why would Sentinel, who opposed leaving at all, now offer suggestions about the order of departure? No, Morris said firmly. The children go first, as planned. That night, as Morris looked out at the stars, he wondered what else the purists might do to stop the evacuation. The explosion had shown how far they would go. Building the transport vessels would take every bit of skill both species had, and a lot of luck. Time was running out. 2 weeks passed in a blur of activity. Every human and many Valen worked day and night to build the first transport vessels. Using parts from the Horizons and Valen technology, they created 5 ships that could each carry 1,000 passengers. They're not pretty, Greg Phillips said as he showed Morris the completed ships, but they'll get the job done. The first group was ready to leave. Valen children with their teachers, medical staff, and key cultural leaders. Dr. Elaine Frost had spent days copying the Valen historical archives and art into human computers to preserve their culture. We're cutting it close, Morris said to his officers. The damage from the explosion is spreading. The main Valen ship could fail completely in 3 weeks. The next group of transports will be ready in 10 days, Greg promised. We'll get everyone out in time. Morris had another concern. The purists have been too quiet. Sentinel is planning something. We've doubled security, Jack said. Nothing will happen to these transports. The day of departure arrived. 5,000 Valen gathered in the launch bay, mostly children and elderly. Guide was going with them to help establish the first settlement on Venus. I still don't understand why you're helping us, Guide said to Morris. After learning what we did to our star. Because that's what humans do, Morris replied. We help when we can. As the Valen boarded the transports, Morris split his crew. Half would go with the transports led by Kate Simmons, who had become an expert on Valen biology. The other half would stay behind with Morris to continue building more ships and preparing the remaining Valen. Just as the last children were boarding, alarms blared throughout the bay. Jack Weber's voice came over the radio. Captain, purists are trying to reach the lead transport's engine room. Morris raced through the corridors, joining Jack and several security officers as they converged on the engine room. Inside, they found Sentinel and 5 other purists placing devices on the transport's power core. Stop, Morris shouted. Those ships are carrying children. Sentinel turned. Better they die in space than live as beggars on your world. Our race ends with dignity or not at all. Jack rushed forward as one purist activated a device. Without hesitation, Jack threw himself on the machine, using his body to shield the blast. The explosion knocked everyone down, but the ship remained intact. When Morris regained his senses, he found Jack badly injured but alive. The purists were captured except for Sentinel, who had escaped in the confusion. The transports could wait. No longer. Despite the attack, Morris gave the order to launch. 5 ships carrying the future of the Valen race slowly moved away from the damaged generation ships. As they departed, many of the purists who had watched the sacrifice of Jack Weber began to question their beliefs. Some approached Morris, offering to help with the next phase of evacuation. Sentinel doesn't speak for all of us anymore, one former purist told him. We've seen what humans will sacrifice for others. It has changed how we think. 3 days later, Jack Weber opened his eyes in the medical bay. Morris was waiting. The transports? Jack asked weakly. Safe on their way, Morris assured him. You saved them. The lead ship is carrying 500 children. Jack nodded. Good. Then he asked, what about the device I found on the second transport? Did you remove it? Morris stared at him. What second device? Jack tried to sit up. I saw Sentinel plant something on the second transport too. Before I could stop him, the other purists attacked me. Morris immediately called the transport fleet. This is Captain Morris. Check every inch of the second transport. There may be a sabotage device on board. As they waited for a response, Morris looked out at the stars. The first Valen were on their way to a new home, but danger still traveled with them. And back on the failing generation ships, millions more waited for rescue while time ran out. Greg entered the medical bay. Captain, we've got a problem. The main Valen ship's core is destabilizing faster than we predicted. We may have only 2 weeks left, not 3. Morris took a deep breath. They needed to work faster, much faster. The warning reached the second transport ship just in time. They found Sentinel's device hidden behind a panel near the life support systems. Kate Simmons carefully removed it before it could explode. All transports are safe, Kate reported back, to the horizons. We'll reach Venus in 3 months. On the main Valen ship, time was running out faster than expected. Strange noises came from deep within the ship. Lights flickered more often. The air smelled wrong. The core is failing, Greg told Morris. We have days, not weeks. Morris called an emergency meeting with all remaining crew and Valen leaders. We need to speed up evacuations. The next transport ships aren't ready, but we have no choice. We'll use the Valen escape pods to get as many people as possible to the nearest human outpost. As the meeting ended, a young Valen engineer rushed in. Captain, we've detected a strange device deep in the ship. It's giving off energy readings like nothing we've seen before. Morris, Greg, and a security team followed the engineer through narrow passages to the very center of the massive ship. There, in a sealed room, they found what they were looking for, and Sentinel. The purist leader stood before a glowing device the size of a small car. Its surface pulsed with strange light, and the air around it seemed to bend. What is that? Morris demanded. Sentinel turned calmly. Our ancestors' final gift. This device creates a reaction similar to what destroyed our star. When it activates, It will consume this ship, your crew, and all Valen who have forgotten their pride. Greg scanned the device with a portable computer. It's an antimatter device, he said in horror. If this goes off, it will destroy everything for thousands of miles. Why? Morris asked Sentinel. Your own people, children, innocents, will die. Better to end with dignity than live as beggars, Sentinel replied. Those who left have abandoned our ways. Those who remain will die with honor. There's no honor in mass murder, Morris said. More security officers arrived, surrounding Sentinel. Morris ordered everyone to evacuate while Greg studied the device. Can you disable it? Morris asked. Greg looked grim. The countdown has already started. We have less than 2 hours. Get everyone to the escape pods, Morris ordered. Start with the farthest sections and work inward. I'll stay with Greg. As the evacuation began, chaos spread through the ship. Most Valen rushed to the escape pods, but some purists tried to block the way. Fights broke out in the corridors. Morris returned to the antimatter device with a team of human and Valen engineers. Greg had opened the outer casing and was studying the inner workings. I think I can neutralize it, Greg said. But someone needs to stay and manually override the controls while everyone else gets clear. I'll do it, Morris said. Greg shook his head. No, Captain, you need to lead the evacuation. I know this technology best. A former purist stepped forward. I will stay with your engineer. My people created this problem. It is right that one of us helps end it. As minutes ticked by, the ship grew emptier. Thousands of Valen crowded into escape pods and small shuttles. The device's pulsing grew faster and brighter. Time to go, Captain, Greg said. We're down to 30 minutes. The Valen and I need to start the neutralization process now. Morris put a hand on Greg's shoulder. Get it done and get out. That's an order. I'll try my best, Greg said with a small smile. But no promises. Morris joined, the last group heading to the escape pods. As their small ship pulled away, he watched the massive Valen vessel through the window. After centuries of carrying its people through space, the great ship looked tired and dim, its lights failing one by one. 20 minutes later, as their escape pod raced away, Morris saw a brief flash of light from the center of the Valen ship. Then nothing. No explosion. No destruction. Just silence. His radio crackled. Captain, it's Greg. We did it. The reaction is contained. Can you get out? Morris asked urgently. Static filled the channel. Then Greg's voice, weaker. Don't think so. The corridors collapsed, but we stopped it, Captain. We stopped it. The radio went silent. 1 year later, Captain Morris stood on a hill overlooking the Valen settlement on Venus. Below him, dome-shaped buildings spread across the southern continent. Valen and humans moved together through the streets, working, side by side. It's impressive what they've built in just a year, said Olivia Martinez, now captain of her own ship. Morris nodded. They're good builders. Always were. The Valen had adapted to life on Venus better than anyone expected. Their domes created the perfect environment for their bodies, warmer and with different air than humans preferred, but comfortable for them. Inside the domes, they had recreated some of their art and culture from the old world. Dr. Elaine Frost had become the main connection between humans and Valen. She had learned their language completely and helped create schools where both species could learn from each other. The Valen taught humans about star patterns and emotion crystals. Humans taught Valen about earth plants and animals. Morris walked down to the main settlement where Guide waited for him. The Valen leader had aged in the past year but still stood tall. Welcome back, Captain, Guide said. We are honored by your visit. I wanted to see how everyone was doing, Morris replied. Guide led him through the settlement. Valen children played in special parks designed for their 4 arms. Older Valen worked in laboratories and art studios. Today is special, Guide explained. It is the first Remembrance and Renewal Day. They entered a large dome where hundreds of Valen had gathered. In the center stood a beautiful crystal structure larger than any Morris had seen before. It glowed with soft light. This day honors those we lost, Guide said, both Valen and human, and it celebrates our new beginning. The ceremony began with music, strange but beautiful sounds from Valen instruments. Then Guide spoke about their journey from their dying home to Venus. He named those who had died, including Greg Phillips and the reformed purist who had stayed behind to save everyone. "We were forsaken by the stars," Guide said, "but found by humanity's compassion." After the ceremony, a young Valen approached Morris. She looked familiar. "I am Mira's daughter," she explained. "My mother worked with your scientist, Kate." The girl held out a small object, a sculpture made of crystal and metal. It showed two hands reaching toward each other across a field of stars. One hand had 5 fingers, the other had 6 and was clearly Valen. "This is our symbol of gratitude," she said. "We give it to those who have helped us when no one else would." Morris took the gift carefully. "Thank you," he said. "What's your name?" "Greggy," she said. "After your friend who saved us." Later that day, Morris met with Earth officials who had come to check on the Valen settlement. There had been problems. At first, fear, distrust, arguments over resources. But things were improving. "The Valen scientists have helped us understand solar storms better," one official admitted. "Their knowledge of stars is saving lives across the system." Morris nodded. "And our engineers have helped them build better systems for their new home." As the sun set over Venus, Morris stood at the edge of the settlement, looking at the strange, purple sky. Earth was just visible as a bright point of light. "Captain?" Morris turned to find Jack Weber walking toward him. Jack had recovered from his injuries but still walked with a limp. "You're thinking about Greg," Jack said. "And all the others we lost," Morris agreed. "I wonder what they would think of all this." Jack looked out at the settlement, at the mixture of human and Valen buildings, at the children of 2 species, playing together. "I think they'd be proud," Jack said. "We didn't just save a species. We found new friends." That night, as Earth's ships prepared to leave, Morris took one last look at the settlement. The domes glowed softly in the darkness like new stars on the surface of Venus. A race that had been forsaken by its own star had found a new home and new allies. As his shuttle rose into the sky, Morris placed the small crystal sculpture on the dashboard, 2 hands reaching across the stars. Different but connected, not forsaken anymore.